Hello and welcome back to Lorcana Villain. My name is Baker and today we're taking a look at some more top 8 deck lists. This was an event in the US. It was a winner case tournament hosted by Nat20 Games. It wasn't a large field. I believe it was about 16 players. So not a huge tournament, but we're taking all the data that we can get at the moment. I'm absorbing it, and hopefully you guys are too. So I thought it was still good to take a look. Our information comes from us today. I found these lists courtesy of Lorcana Goons and their Twitter post here, which will be linked down below in sources. And they also made an entire video covering not just this tournament, but other tournaments as well. 24 decks that top tournaments opening weekend, a video that I've watched myself and you should go check out too. It will be linked down below. I believe they got their information though from a Facebook source, which will also be linked down below as we do. As always, there'll be timestamps down below so that you can skip to the part of the video that speaks to you the most. The deck list will be linked down below for you to try out. And oh, Crystal Ball, hello. I don't believe I summoned you.
Yes, my powers have grown significantly since our last video. I am now much more evil than ever before.
Ah, I see you have a voice now.
Yes, for I am the true star of this channel, and my people desire to have me speak to them directly.
I mean, you were just a bit of decoration for the lair, really. I don't think you really got over the way you'd hoped.
Silence! The based Crystal Ball post got a whole 10 likes. And the one known as The Late Adventures said, "It was an excellent bit, and I am here for it." See? A wise, valued viewer. But how sad that you are always running late for the adventures. Or is it you yourself that are the adventures and are running late? Either way, better get a move on.
Crystal Ball, you do sound a lot like Marek from Yu-Gi-Oh! Specifically the abridged version.
Yes. For he is both very evil and very humorous, both of which being things of what I am. So I have taken that voice for my own.
Alright, well this was interesting, but I don't think people are really going to care. They want their Lorcana content.
Nonsense! You'll see. The demand for me will be too strong. I will be a Lorcana sensation. Just you wait!
Alright, enough of this. Done, Crystal Ball! If we just don't talk about Crystal Ball in the comments or interact with anything to do with them, I'm sure they'll go away. Let's take a look at the top 8 deck lists. So, I believe there was an agreement between players beforehand that they would prize share to a degree. First and second prize split and third and fourth prize split. And the final, they didn't even play the finals. So we have 2 lists for first, second place. We'll start off with Franklin, who is playing some Emerald Steel Tiana Hand Destruction. Tiana. We have 4 copies of Captain Hook for a 1-drop, followed by 3 copies of Simba Future King, who we haven't seen much. I say that we're literally only, this is the third top 8 list of the new tournament, but we hadn't seen him crop up so far. But he's sitting right here, and we also see 4 copies of the 2-drop Enchantress and 4 copies of Flynn Rider, obviously playing into the hand destruction this deck wants to do, and 3 copies of the 2-count of the Huntsman, which I really like as 3/3 for Simba and Huntsman, because this particular deck just wants to cycle through cards to empty your opponent's hand, limit their options, and then empty your own hand so that you can play this Tiana. We'll get to her. 3 copies of the Cheshire Cat, 4 copies of Prince John. Obviously, we're playing hand destruction, so he's going to help us draw. 4 copies of Daisy, staple in this deck. We also see 3 copies of Donald Duck, who I really like. Nice consistent card draw. Yes, it gives your opponent cards as well, but in this deck it might be a case of, would you like to draw something so I can immediately discard it? That's going to be the case a lot of the time. But also it plays into the whole Tiana strategy where you want to have no cards in your hand to use her ability, and this allows you to basically then start, like, empty your hand for your opponent's turn so they can't play actions, and then start your turn with a normal draw and then a Donald Duck draw, and then it's normally pretty easy to play out those 2 cards. Especially when you've got things like Simba and the Huntsman that are going to help you filter through the cards that would be harder to get out of your hand. Not that there are many on this list that I think it should be too hard to get out of your hand. Of course, we've also got the Beast Mirror that complements that strategy as well. But yeah, let's look at Tiana. 4 cost uninkable, 1 4 stat line with 2 lore pips, resist 2, which is resist is strong, and the ability which says when this character is exerted and you have no cards in your hand, your opponent can't play actions. So songs are actions, so it's a big old pull. This is really going to shut decks down, and I did underestimate Tiana when I first looked at her. I was like, great ability, but you're too easily removed, you're uninkable. I didn't think it would do a very good job of sticking, but in this particular deck, like played with hand destruction, it does make a lot of sense that you just don't put her down until you limited your opponent completely, and then even when they're topping actions that could get them out of their predicament, they can't play them. And yeah, Donald and Beast Mirror help you to empty your hand, but then still have options when you start a new turn, and pretty much everything in this deck is easily thrown down, whether it's a cheap character or whether it's an action that we want to be playing or getting down another Beast Mirror. So yeah, 3 copies of Kuzco, 3 copies of Lucifer, who is deadly, absolutely deadly. I always thought he'd be good, but I mean, like, I'm taking that from playing in Sealed, where he was really, really strong, which is obviously different, but he came up in the list that we saw the other day, the hand destruction list that won the Germany event. So yeah, Lucifer's deadly. 4 Fire the Cannons, 4 Hypnotize, 4 Smash, which I really like. I think Smash is important to run. 4 Sudden Chill, and 4 Beast Mirror. So yeah, deck looks a lot of fun. Definitely another variant of hand destruction that I want to try out. And yeah, maybe we start seeing a lot more Tiana, because that ability is incredibly strong. I just wasn't sure how consistently you'd be able to get it online. But yeah, with this hand destruction deck, it's probably the right place for her. So yeah, well done to Franklin. Our next first, second place split list from Elliot, who is very much... Their head is very much still in Chapter 1, because everything bar 2 cards is Chapter 1 format. We see 4 Hook, 4 Eric, 4 copies of Bell, as it is Steel, Sapphire. We ramping, so we hoping to get some big questing off with Bell. 3 copies of Beast, which I'm glad to see. Item removal. We see no Benja in this particular list, but Beast allows us is another target for our songs. We see 4 copies of Thinking a Happy Thought, Captain Hook in here to go with those 4 Forceful Duelists, who will assuredly help us consistently sing Whole New World and Grab Your Sword whenever we want to. So love it, love it, love it. We'll come back to the next one. 4 copies of Hades, which is great. 2 copies of the Stout-Hearted Cinderella, which, yeah, it does feel a bit random. I'm not going to lie, but don't necessarily see anything wrong with it. We're playing Fishbone Quill later on in the list, so hopefully we're ramping big and then wheeling big. So yeah, this is... It's still a Stout-Hearted Cinderella to put down, and we're playing other songs, so yeah. 4 Develop Your Brain, so that we can pick for the specific pieces that we want when we want them. 4 Fire the Cannons, 4 Smash, 3 Let It Go, 4 Wheel, 4 Grab Your Swords, 4 Beast Mirror, and 4 Fishbone Quill. And yes, the card that I dodged over, we have Kronk. Junior Chipmunk, 6 cost inkable, 4/5 stat line, 2 lore pips, resist 1, and Scout Leader. During your turn, whenever this character banishes another character in a challenge, you may deal 2 damage to chosen character. So it's Giant Tink's secondary effect. Yeah, Tink, don't need ya. Junior Chipmunk, get up in here. Is this a budget choice, or is this a choice? Is this just saying that resist 1 matters far more than anything than the sprinkle that Tinkerbell's going to do? Maybe so. Maybe so. It's great to see Kronk, that's what I'm going to say. And yeah, first, second split, so well done to Elliot. Now going into our 3rd and 4th place split, we've got Kendall with some Ruby Amethyst Bounce Control. So we see 4 Pascal, 4 Madam Mim Snake, 4 LeFou, 3 Arthur, 4 counts of Mim, Maleficent, Goat and Snake. Sorry, Fox, Maleficent, Goat and Snake. I'll get there in the end, guys. 4 Maui, 4 Yzma, 2 Lady Tremaine Shifted, Floodborn, sorry, 2 copies of Elsa, 4 Maleficent, 2 Dragon's Fire, 4 Friends on the other side, 4 Be Prepared, and 3 Sorcerer's Spellbook. So none of our challenge archetypes, no Queen of Hearts, no Shere Khan, not an overindulgence of cheap drops, like 1s and 2 drops like we see in some lists, but we're not seeing the purple dragon here, so yeah, makes sense. And yeah, just doing bouncy. We do see the snake and we see the Arthur, so yeah, just bounce control, probably in its most simplistic form, but 3 copies of the Spellbook, which will really pick up the pace in games. And again, more likely they're going to stay online, because I think Bengers are going to rise in popularity after the results of the first couple of tournaments that we've seen, that we have data for. So yeah, I think Beast fell off a little. He'll probably pick up a bit, and you'll start seeing Benger a lot more. But yeah, this is 9 times out of 10 when you put this down, it's on a turn where you can immediately exert it to gain a lore, which is always value. So yeah, this looks good. Congratulations to them. Next up, in the 3rd and 4th place split, we've got Jimmy with some Ruby Sapphire Pawp Challenge Control. So I haven't talked about this deck yet on the channel, other than alluding to it when I was doing the Germany list. I was saying, oh, there's a deck that's going around that looks like it's going to be pretty good, and it topped the Liverpool top 8. That's what I was saying anyway. I was saying, oh, it's in the top 8 of Liverpool. As soon as I find the rest of the list, I'll report on it. And I found the list, and I turned out my information was wrong. Apologies for that, but haven't really gone into depth much about it yet. But obviously, it's everywhere. Everyone's talking about it. It's best deck in format, so they're saying. The word on the street. So we have 3 copies of the Queen of Hearts, backed up by 3 of the Floodborn version, giving us our challenge archetype. And to be fair, we see the Aladdin, the 3 copies of Floodborn Aladdin, that plays into the challenge archetype, as far as I'm concerned. But we see for 3 copies of the baby as well. We see 4 copies of Flaversham. I don't know who needs to hear this. Flaversham. Not Flaversham. Flaversham. And yes, if you've been around my channel for at least a month longer, then you will be immediately going, oh, coming from the guy that kept saying Cerebrus. And yes, you are absolutely right. But I called myself out on it. I said it right. So I'm just saying, Flaversham. But anyway, so proud to see my man Flaversham as a staple part of this meta. Just being absolutely abused for his drawing power. So yeah, let's also go to look at Pawpsicle, which obviously is a 1-drop inkable, which has 2 abilities. One being when you play it, you immediately draw a card, so it replaces itself. It is what is commonly known as a cantrip. You may hear that term online if you didn't know what that meant, but you've heard it. That's what it means. And the second ability, that you can banish it to remove up to 2 damage counters from a chosen character. That's something that's cool to have and may be relevant at times, but it's not why we're playing it. We're mostly playing it for Flaversham's ability, which is when you play this character and whenever he quests, which I think was a big mistake. I love you, Ravensburger, but I do think that's where you went wrong with this card, or where you went right, depending on what you were aiming for. If you were aiming for this to be a drawing consistency machine, bravo. If you were not, this is where you went wrong. When you play this character and when he quests, you may banish an item of your choosing to draw 2 cards. What do we always say? Drawing cards is king. And this just gives us such a consistent way to do it. And it's brilliant. You in a perfect world, you put down Pawpsicle turn 1. You can do it turn 2 or 3 if you need to, but you do it in time so that then on turn 4 you drop your Flaversham, you pop your Pawpsicle, allowing you to draw some cards. And then on the next turn, when you've got 5 ink to play with, you can put down Nick Wilde, who is here and says, when you play this character, you may return an item card named Pawpsicle to your hand. So yeah, on your turn 5, you play Nick Wilde for 4, you return the Pawpsicle, you play the Pawpsicle for the final ink, and then you quest for Flaversham again. and we cooking. We cooking way too hard. So yeah, this deck looks like it's just a drawing machine. And yes, obviously blue has ramp. I've seen a few variations of this list. In this particular list, we're seeing 2 copies of Fishbone Quill and 4 copies of One Jump Ahead, and you're just going to draw cards so well, especially with our challenge archetypes of the Queen of Hearts. It's going to help us draw cards as well. And there's more items here. We've got the 4 Shield of Virtue. It's only 10, no, we did 2 Eye of Fates as well, so 14 items. But even just the Shields of Virtue and the Portals are going to be enough, really. And this is just an insane drawing consistency machine. And you're ramping and you're playing all of Ruby's big stuff. So we see 4 Maui as standard. Like I said, Queen of Hearts. We've got 3 Aladdin to go on top of the shifted one, an extra challenge archetype, and we can afford to go behind a little bit with Aladdin because we have insane catch up, and obviously pairs really well with Shield of Virtue, always has. 4 Mickey Mouse, which because we ramp so hard, we can just afford to. And okay, you world's greatest criminal minded, one of them. All right, here's another. Do you know what I mean? It gets over nearly anything evasive that's going to be played in the format, other than itself. I think there's something else of evasive that hits to 5. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but nonetheless, you're going to get value from this a lot. It's crazy. We've got Tamatoa, who obviously when he's played and when he quests, you can return items to your hands. So this also allows you to return your Porpsicles and your shields, to just keep having Flaversham just working on that machine that is our drawing extravaganza. 4 Maleficent, 4 Dragon's Fire, 4 Be Prepared, and Eye of the Fates as well. I don't see that in all lists, but it's certainly an option to just help you be even more aggressive with your questing. So yeah, this deck looks insane. I hear it's insane. I haven't played it yet. I think I'm going to record my first time playing. I'll look at all the versions that are doing well. I will build the version that I like the look of, and I will record those first couple of games, and I will call it Ruby Amethyst Control Player Tries Porpsicle. And we'll just see how it goes. But yeah, list looks good. Yeah, congratulations to Jimmy. Moving into our top 8 now, we have Jackie with Emerald Amber Relentless Hand Destruction. Relentless cool because we've got 3 copies of the Beast in here. So we're running 3 copies of Cinderella, which is a really nice, easy way to get a turn 2 Mother Knows Best or Sudden Chill off, which we see in 4 and 4 respective counts later on in the list. We can also World's Criminal Mind, but odds of them having a 5 strength or more that early are slim. But yeah, mostly we Sudden Chill in, we Mother Knows Best. I think 3 copies is fine. Obviously, if you want to raise those odds of getting that turn 1, then you go to 4. But a lot of people are like really playing around this now with, like, you see Heightened Cannons, you're seeing Teeth and Ambitions, you're like, yeah, people are more expectant of Cinderella, but that doesn't mean that they're always going to be able to stop it. So we still see 3 copies here. 4 of the Rockstar Stitch line, backed up by 4 Simbas and 4 Flynn Riders for our 2 drops to help us draw. I've got along with the Cinderellas, of course. 4 Cheshire Cat, 4 Prince John and Daisy Duck as is standard. We do see 1 copy of Belle Hidden Archer here, who I wasn't expecting to, like, she got a lot of hype when she was first announced, but I was like, yeah, it sounds good in theory, but she is just instantly removed, and like Kuzco's right there as a 5-drop uninkable, and this deck was kind of already squeezing for uninkables, not massively, but it was kind of on as many uninkables as it really wanted to be playing anyway. And I thought most of those uninkables would stay in format along with the ones we got. So I don't think she's going to be common, but I don't hate a 1 count, because sometimes you will just, like, there will be times where you are just able to put this down turn 5 and your opponent just won't have an answer for it and you'll get some free questing. Or it might get to a point where you're able to remove all but 1 or 2 things in their hand, but you're sitting there questing with Belle and they just have to give up the cards just to stop you winning the game. Yeah, but like, I can see value being gained from this. I still think I prefer Kuzco, who we don't see in this list, but I don't hate Hidden Archer as a preference. I really like the 3 copies of Lucifer, absolutely deadly card. 2 Mad Hatter, we talked about Stitch and Beast. We see the normal discard stuff, Hypnotize, 4 You Have Forgotten Me, 4 Sudden Chill, and 2 counts of Ring the Bell and World's Greatest Criminal Mind for some additional removal. So yeah, list looks strong, list looks deadly. Hand Destruction, get used to it in this format. Good, congratulations to Jackie. Next up, top 8, we've got Jason Williams with some Amber Amethyst Stitch Blitz. Pretty simple stuff here. We've got 4 copies of Cinderella, who can on turn 2 sing Friends on the Other Side, which is pretty big. And of course, one of the 3 copies of Be Our Guest we've got here. We've got 4/4 of Rockstar Stitch, backed up by plenty of drops. 3 copies of Pinocchio, 4 Madam Mim Snake, 4 Simba, and 4 Lilo. Obviously, Lilo and Simba in themselves being a nice combo. Pinocchio being a great quester, aggressive. Madam Mim Snake able to bounce that back to your hand. We've also got 4 copies of the Fox and Maleficent for some additional bounce plus respond to threats on the board. And for some draw, we see 3 copies of Hades in here for some recycle. Probably going to be important for those Arthurs. Get extra use off of your goats. I'm not sure if I think 3 is necessarily needed here. I think you could probably, like, you notice we don't see a rabbit here, which I don't hate. It's not inherently what we're trying to do. I don't know. I don't hate 3 Hades, but I just think if you wanted to run this and you wanted to find a cut, I don't think you need any really. It's cool to have. But I think it's pretty straightforward what you're doing. You've got multiple counts of everything. I don't hate it. I think I'd probably at least go down to a 2-drop. 4 goat, as we said, and we spoke about everything else except the 3 copies of Lantern at the end. So, yeah, nice and simple. Amber Amethyst, Stitch Blitz, aggressive. It's going to do well against pretty much everything this format, really, and it will need to be responded to in turn, and the way most decks will need to respond to that will be by making them a little bit less consistent against each other. So that should give us a healthier meta overall. So yeah, love to see it. Congratulations to Jason. Next up, we got Jeremy Brewer with some Ruby Amethyst Bounce and Ambitions, is what I've called this. So we see our bounce stuff: 4 copies of Madam Mim, 4 Merlin, 4 Fox. Sorry, I've got to stop saying Madam Mim. 4 copies of the Snake, 4 Arthur, 4 Fox, 4 Maleficent, 2 Goats, and no Rabbit in this list. But enough to, yeah, definitely, it'd still bounce, even without the Rabbit. But yeah, and there's a Purple Dragon here as well. But the Purple Dragon, makes a lot of sense. We see a high amount of 1 and 2 drops. We've got 3 counts of Minnie and Olaf and 2 Dr. Facilier. So great for being able to add extra characters to our board to be able to put down our Madam Mims for the Purple Dragon. Also really good because we're running the 4 copies of Teeth and Ambitions, which makes that pretty much live all the time if you're able to get one of your 1-drops down turn 1 / your Facilier down on turn 2, or even the Snake going down on turn 2, you still live that chip damage. And yeah, Teeth and Ambition's great for opposing Cinderellas, for Lilos, a variety of things. So yeah, I really like this, and it can be sung. So yeah, I really like that. Those are things I like. I still think I'd want to find space for a Rabbit in here. I really like the 3 Scar, 4 Maleficent, 2 Dragon's Fire, 4 Friends on the Other Side. Have you noticed it yet? No Be Prepared. A statement. Scar does a lot of what Be Prepared does. Don't get me wrong, it's not the same if your opponent's got a flooded board of 3-4 characters plus. Because Scar realistically is going to deal with 2 things, sometimes 1, depending on what you're going into. But yeah, I think you can consistently expect Scar to be able to deal with 2 threats, but quite a lot as a consistent Ruby Amethyst control player, that was probably 50% of my experience using Be Prepared on a field of 2 where Scar would have done, just because you were forced to for whatever the game state was in the context of the board. So I get it to a degree. Scar does a lot of this work. I still think Be Prepared is so important, so good. Preference. Will you stop playing Be Prepared just for Scar? Let me know in comments. I read that. That's I love Scar. Scar is in my variants. One or 2 counts. I'm going between the 2. But yeah, no Be Prepared is a decision. Something else really spicy to mention about this list. No Floodborn Aladdin, but Sewer Rat Aladdin. And this is actually quite cool because it's just another one of these targets that we're hoping to regularly bounce with, obviously, Snake and Fox. But obviously there's an emphasis on Purple Dragon here. So being able to consistently put down this Aladdin, when you get to 10 ink plus, put down this Aladdin and then play Madam Mim and return it back, along with obviously another character that you hopefully already had on the board. Or even from turn 7, you put Aladdin down, and if he sticks around, then you've already got your 2 characters on board. But yeah, like, just recycled quest lore denial is kind of interesting. If I'm running these 4 baby Aladdin, I'm probably finding space for 1 or 2 of the Floodborn. But then you're kind of going against what you want to do, because then it's not that version anymore. But again, if you were to return this to your hand as Floodborn, like if you shifted Floodborn Aladdin onto this, and then returned, they would still both return to your hand. So you can still keep up your lore denial, but then it's an extra amount of ink that you're paying to have shifted onto the Floodborn Aladdin. But I still kind of like the option. I don't know. I do really like this list. There's some spice here. Just a couple of things that I'd want to tweak with. But overall, looks really strong. So yeah, congratulations to them. And our final top 8 list from Tyler is another Pawp Challenge Control. List is basically identical, except instead of 2 Fishborn Quill, I say identical to the last list that we looked at. Other than -2 Fishborn Quill, +2 Dinner Bell, which is really interesting. I am a Dinner Bell believer. And again, like Flaversham in particular is so bulky. Like the odds of being able to get off like a big Flaversham draw are high. Even Nick Wild's bulky with that 4. Maui is a dream partner for Dinner Bell. And obviously we're playing the Floodborn Aladdin and the Mickey Mouse. I mean, sometimes you would just prefer the quest, but sometimes you need the cards. Tamatoa obviously has 8 willpower, and you might have already got tons of value off of him, and then, okay, now I'm going to draw 5, 6, 7 cards. So, yeah, I like it. I still think I'd probably find room for the Fishborn Quill, but I haven't played this deck yet. I've only seen discussion and other people's videos, so I don't hate the Dinner Bell. I'm not sure if it will end up in my final variant, and there is synergy here. But yeah, another way to play Pawp Control. So yeah, congratulations to Tyler. And that's it for our top 8 deck list for the Nat20 games. Like I said, not a huge field, but we're soaking up as much data for Rise of the Floodborn as we possibly can, and it was a good excuse to be able to talk about Pawp Control. I'm working on a Beast Relentless video, Emerald Steel, as we put it to a vote on the channel, what viewers wanted to see profiled next the most, and that was the winner, so that'll be the next thing I'm doing. But like I said, I'm going to sit down and have some games with Pawpsicle, and I will record that, and that will probably turn into content as well. Also wanted to briefly talk about something else. This is going to have nothing to do with the rest of the video, so if you just came for deck lists, thanks for watching. But if you're sticking around, probably within 24 hours of whenever this video comes out, I've got something slightly different hitting the channel. Not entirely different. I've done things like this before. If you're new to the channel, you may not have seen though. But in the past week, I've done a couple of shorts, which I've called Tales of the Illuminary, which are just very basic animations, barely animations really, keyframes, with me doing narration of some of the official lore statements made by Ravensburger and Disney Lorcana, just because I'm really fascinated by the lore. In the background for like a month or so now, I've been working on a video which is going to be like the entire Lorcana timeline, talking about the story and all the card art and the secret, how the ways they relate and stuff and all that jazz. But they keep releasing more lore at such a rate that I keep having to change my script. So my plan is, because I'm guessing that just before and after set 3 we'll get another big lore dump, I'm going to be more prepared by the time that like season 3 is about to come around, and make sure all of my prior information is ready and scripted and done, and then whatever information comes from season 3, I'll be really as quick as I can to update it all, and then hopefully get it out in sometime between January and March. So that's not coming yet, but there was a beautiful long paragraph released on the Disney Lorcana Ravensburger website not long ago, giving us loads of more information about the lore, and it came with some great art. And I've had that art. I've put some money into it. I've had that art animated, and then I've done some animation myself, again, more keyframing than animation. But I've made a video which is about 5 minutes long, and it's voice acted by myself and 2 of my friends. A lot of work has gone into it, a lot of heart's gone into it. It might not be everyone's cup of tea, might not be your thing, and that's absolutely fine. But if you want to support me and just support me keeping on making content for this channel, which will always be majority like deck lists and gameplay and that sort of thing, but I do want to do videos about the lore and stuff like that. But even if it's not your cup of tea, I would really support it if you want to support me, to just give even if you don't fancy giving it a watch, just give it a like, interact with it in some way, because a lot of work's gone into it. But that's it from me for now. If you're brand new to the channel, please subscribe for all things Lorcana, and we'll see you soon.